is just incredible. So I want you to share that if you don't mind. He's also an author of a book, Finding Happiness. And I think that's just timely, Chad. So if you don't mind today, share about your book today. I'd love to hear more about it and share that with everybody because it's great information. Also, Chad has served our great country. So he's a patriot, he's a veteran, did some serious time. And, I think it's awesome whenever I get a chance to thank a veteran. I know for a fact we cherish our freedom. And if it's not for guys like you, we don't have freedom. So thank you for your service, Chad. And, let's just start off today. Just share a little bit about your story. I love your transparency and your growth in life. It's awesome to hear.
Yeah, well, I'm 46 years old. And, lately I've been thinking about, if we get to live 120 years, which I guess the most healthy of us get to, that'd be about 8 15-year chapters. So I just wrapped up chapter 3, 5 chapters to go. And, when I'm sharing, I like to just kind of say the first chapter for me, the first 15 years was pretty normal. I lived in three siblings, mom and dad still together. I was middle class, I guess you would say. And so from the outside looking in, it was all okay. I mean, I don't have no crazy things happening in those 15 years in my life. But then age 16 to 30, man, everything went down the crapper. and I have to say it started with my decision. And when I was 15 years old, I had a drink for the first time. And before I knew it, it was my whole identity. Like I had to have alcohol in my system to feel like I was any fun, to feel like I had any sort of courage. It just became, something that became part of my life, and my whole world became around where's the next party and what are we going to do this weekend and that kind of thing. And graduated high school, went out of high school straight into the Army. I mean, I turned 18 on July 18th, and July 30th, I was on the Greyhound bus heading off to Fort Sill, Oklahoma. Didn't have any clue what was going on. And I didn't really plan for it. I was just in my school one day, and there was a recruiter there, and he said, "Do you know what you want to do with your life?" And I said, "No." And he said, "How about the Army?" And I said, "Maybe." And he said, "We'll pay for your college, and you can just go for 3 years in the Army, and we'll pay for all your school." And I thought, why not? I didn't have any better plans than that. Kind of like most people, I was just kind of waiting for life to happen and wait for something to show up, I've learned since that rarely does a good idea interrupt you, but I guess I was waiting for a good idea to interrupt me. So went off into the Army, and of course, I go through training. I'm in Fort Riley, Kansas for a few months, and then they send me to Germany. So here I'm a 19-year-old in Germany, and of course, partying's easy in Germany, right? And so it just kind of took it all to another level. And then right around then I discovered I had a singing talent. I'd always in school and everything, I was on the chorus and did theater and acting and that sort of stuff. And so that's kind of when karaoke became big. So there I am in Germany singing karaoke, having a blast. Got out of the Army, decided I want to be an actor. So I went to college to become an actor. And while I was in acting school, I got in my first rock band. And I just fell in love with the fame and the feel of the crowd and the partying that went along with it. Only now I didn't have to pay for my own alcohol anymore. Everyone was wanting to pay for it for me. So that was the life I lived for most of the 90s. It was just rock and roll. My goal was to do music and nothing else, and then management in Chicago and put an album out, and things seemed to be going good as far as what I wanted. But on the inside, it was just all falling apart. The rock and roll, the drugs, the alcohol, the relationships, and just the people I was surrounding myself with. It was just not a good environment. It was very toxic, got in a lot of trouble. And so interestingly enough, I spent those 3 years in the Army from 91 to 94. And then I did all this other stuff, met my wife in 2003. So I was a mess. I steadily just kind of degraded down, and she was a mess. And we got together, and wouldn't you know it, within a couple months, we found out we were going to be parents. Now, this was a game changer for me. Here I am, a 30-year-old, and I'm finding out for the first time I'm going to be a parent. I feel very unqualified to be a parent or any sort of productive member of society at this point. And because of all the 90s and all the trouble I'd gotten into, it landed with 6 warrants for my arrest. So I had to end up going to jail for 2 weeks. And when I was in jail, I read the entire Bible. It was 70 some pages a day. I just divided it by 2 weeks. How many pages divided by 2 weeks? And I read that many pages, wrote down questions. And when it came out of there, I was ready to change. I was ready for something different. And I'd had people that had kind of been dripping on me over the years, and the constant theme was that I needed to make some changes, that I was where I was because of the choices and decisions that I had made to get there. And when that finally clicked for me and it made sense, it was so exciting because now I knew that I could make new choices and new decisions to get a new result. So I had to start from scratch. Like 2005, went back into the Army, less of a rank than when I got out in 1994. So talk about 11-year, talk about a humbling experience, right? Go back into the Army and had to work my way back up through that. And, everything started to change. I decided to really take being a father and being a husband and being a Christ follower seriously and just being a good person. And it just led to the next thing that led to the next thing. So eventually finished my college degree because I dropped out of college 3 times, of course, right? Because that's what rock and roll lifestyle does, leads you to be a dropout and all kinds of other things. So I took the 15-year plan to get my 4-year degree, finally did after 15 years. So I became an officer in the military, and I thought that was the end game, do my 20 years in the military, 6-figure plus income, and then I would retire on 50, 60% of my military income and figure it out after that. So it's kind of the plan. But network marketing had always been in the back of my mind. Like when I first got out of the military in 94, I went to this place, of course, to sing karaoke. That's what I did like 5 or 6 nights a week back then. So I go to the Bombay Bicycle Club and I run into my old coworker that I actually worked at McDonald's with. And she'd gotten married and said she wanted to introduce me to her husband. And when I come over to their house, and I was like, yeah, sure. So I sit down and they start handing me magazines. They handed me the boat magazine and the car magazine, the house magazine, said, pick out your favorite. And I was like, I want that one, that one, and that one. This is fun. And they said, well, how are you going to get those things? And I was like, well, I'm not. Someone like me doesn't get those things. And they said, well, what if I could show you a way where it would be possible? And I thought, yeah. And so that seed was planted. That first company I joined lasted for 3 days probably, or 3 weeks. I think I sold my parents some breast spray, some Bianca spray, or, some stuff back then, that whatever it was that I was selling. Right. And, so I didn't get a whole lot of residual income, but the seed was planted. And then the second company came along in the mid-90s through a friend. And then in 2001, actually on my sister's birthday, I met my first real mentor. I met a guy who had actually gotten in trouble, gone to jail for 3 years, and came out as a felon and figured out how to make a strong 6-figure income in this industry. And he was willing to teach me. And I thought, man, this guy's been in more trouble than me. He's been at a lower point in his life than me. And if he figured it out and he's willing to teach me, I'm willing to be a good student. And that's when I said, I'm willing to work. I'm coachable and I've got some ambition. If you'll show me, then I'll do it. And so I ended up being one of the, what was called back then an area coordinator with that company in our area, and was in charge of training people in about 3 different zip codes, and did that. And when I met my wife, I ended up deciding to lay that down and just go. That's when I'd gone into the military full time to start our family. We wanted to get away from all of our old associations and friends. So we needed to to relocate. So did that. And here's the story. It's funny because I joined my 4th company and was doing okay, a couple thousand extra a month on the side while I'm doing the military. Then my wife started getting frustrated because I come home from the Army after a 12-hour day and I'm emailing, I'm doing phone calls, and she's like, what are you doing all this for this little bit? It just seems like too much. And so we went to counseling. And I agreed to focus on my military career. I was going to lay network marketing down. So here I am in 2012. I'm getting ready I was in Fort Polk, Louisiana, which don't ever go there. Just cross that part off the map. You don't need to go there. But I'm in the swamps of Fort Polk, Louisiana. And it's called JRTC. It's something you have to do in the Army to prep before you deploy. So I was getting ready to go to Afghanistan. And my wife messages me and she's like, hey, there's this product I want to try. It's with this company called It Works Glow. I'd never heard of It Works in my life. This is in 2012. So the company had been around for a decade already. Never heard of them. And she said, and if we like the products, it's network marketing and there's a business attached to it. And I said, who are you? I thought we went through counseling. You said no more of that pie in the sky, build a business stuff.
It was like the decoy plan.
Yeah, I was like, this is strange. And she's blowing up my phone and she's sending me all these before and after pictures. And I'm just like, that seems too good to be true. I'm like, that can't be real. But I thought in the back of my mind again, I was like, if this is real, we can do something crazy with this. So we jumped in, first of all, just customers for, I think, a couple of weeks. And then we became distributors in man, that's been a long time. End of July 2012. I think that's when Jaree
Wow.
signed up, and then I signed up a little bit after her. And we went Emerald our first month, which is promoting 3 times in the company, and then Diamond our second month. And our third month, I had to deploy to Afghanistan. And while I was there, my wife, she's home alone, and she just didn't do anything else with the business. And I really couldn't do anything with the business. But month 3, month 4, we kept getting that residual income from what we built in 60 days. And we're like, wow, this is crazy. And then mid-December, my son, who was 2 at the time, he got really, really sick. And keep in mind, I'm in Afghanistan now, 7,300 miles from home. My son got really sick, and I just, I wanted to be home, and at one point I'm in an airport, and I'm looking on social media, and my wife had just posted on there that she's rushing our son to the emergency room. He's got internal hemorrhaging going on. He's getting blood transfusions. Please pray. And so I'm on the phone. I'm like, hey, reroute my plane going home. And I had to fly the wrong direction. And it took me 48 hours just to get back to the airport I was already at to fly home. So at that point, I mentally retired from the Army on my way home. I said, I'm not going to be in this situation again. It's just never going to happen. Right. And I was like, I got to figure something out. And I got home on December 24th. So surprised my other 2 kids, we woke up for Christmas together. And that meant, because I came home from that, I was able to stay home. It was supposed to be for 2 weeks at first, but then they needed a Rear D commander and asked if I would stay. And so I was able to go to my first It Works conference. So imagine Jaree and I sitting there as diamonds. All this stuff just happened. And they're like, if you do this, you can have this income. If you do this, you can have this income. And by the way, they did it. I'll tell you what, I sat there and I remember we were diamonds, and there was some kind of bonus if you go triple by the end of like March or whatever, that, you get some kind of crazy bonus. And my wife looked at me and she said, is that even possible? And I said, we just heard all these people do it. I was like, through Christ, all things are possible. Let's go for it. What do we have to lose? So from January 16th to end of April, we went from diamond all the way to presidential. And we've been presidential and above since for the last 7 years, multiple 6-figure income consistently since 2013 with this company. So I can point back, Mike, to that 101. It was a 101-day run, changed our life forever. But of course, you can't just say that part. You got to go to the backstory part and know where it all came from.
Yeah. No. And I love your story, Chad, because number one, your life experience, kind of, it's like you were building up to that point, where everything came together for you. And it's just a story about not quitting, finding your faith. You found your soulmate. I mean, these are things, you and I both know, because I've been there too, where people, they start losing sight and they lose hope, and they lose all faith. And you get to that point, but you were strong enough to keep moving forward, and deep down, the entrepreneur in you, you were seeking something, in addition to the military. So I love that part of your story. I wanted to ask you too, when you guys look at all the different companies out in this industry, you've seen a lot, and I know some of the mentors you're talking about, mutual friends, and the one you were referring to, a stud. Why it works for you guys? I know we can all go make money anywhere. Let's be real. We can go make money anywhere. But when it comes down to it, your experience, your background, if you had to narrow this down to a few reasons why you and Jaree chose It Works at the end of the day, outside of money, what would those be?
Yeah, well, the first thing I'll say is that, I've gone to conferences with 3 other companies before It Works. And I know the kind of like the dream of network marketing is we say anybody can do it, right? Anybody can do it. But what I found was in the other companies I was in is the majority of people who did it were like, they had a lot of skill set. They had, they were great speakers. They look like they came off a GQ magazine. Here I am with a radio face, right? I'm like, man, these people look like they're all actors and actresses, and they got these great speaking skills. And I'm like, how am I gonna measure up? So I couldn't really relate as much. And I showed up to my first It Works thing, and I saw just ordinary people. I saw young people that didn't even know. I saw people that never even heard the word. I never even heard the name John Maxwell. Didn't even know what a personal development was, and they were having 6-figure incomes with It Works. One of my favorite stories, I remember our first conference, I'm sitting there, and this couple, and they had to be in early 20s. The husband was National Guard, and he had to go away, for a deployment or whatever. And when he came back, his wife, and she had her first child in high school. second child right after high school. So home alone with these two kids, and somehow, some way figured it out to build It Works to where when her husband came home, he said, it was so funny to hear him say this. He said, my wife had bought me a new $40,000 truck and had paid it off. And I was just worried. He's like, I was worried. I didn't know what she'd been doing. And I'm like, what? I'm sitting there, Army officer, and I'm like, there's this, E3 or specialist, whatever he was, that kind of went away. And I'm just thinking, oh my gosh. And it wasn't just that one person. It was story after story after story. And then I got to know Mark and Cindy. And what I love about Mark and Cindy is that they are a safe place. Like, they're dependable. You can trust them. They have their own backstory. They came from the trenches. We're not a publicly traded company. When you probably know this, Mike, but a lot of companies, when they become publicly traded, there's a lot of pressure for the shareholders. So that, you start to think, well, we've got to raise prices and we have to cut commissions because we have to answer to some shareholders in the bottom line. And Mark and Pam and Mike, they don't have those kind of meetings. I mean, they sit around and say, how can we get more six-figure earners? How can we get 10,000 more people to make 500 plus a month? I mean, that's the kind of mentality they have. So they're always looking for a way to put more money in our pockets. So I love that. And I love that they're willing to be innovative. They're willing to try things. They're like, hey, let's try these new things. And if we try 10 new things and 3 of them are home runs and 3 of them are strikeouts and we hit a couple singles and a couple doubles, hey, that's great. Let's do that. So they're quick, they're agile, they've got a good sense for business. I mean, you got the whole family involved here, right? You've got Mark and Cindy and, their son and then both their daughters. I mean, this is a family business, and it's like when you come into this too, you feel like you're part of the family, and I never really had, and for me too, I'm more of like all these other companies, they want to be put a suit and tie. And I mean, it just didn't work out too well for me. I'm showing up and I'm like, you got to button the top button. I don't want to button the top button. And I'm like,
I know I've got 3 shirts. I've got 3 shirts and I wear them all the time. I love it.
Yeah, I know, man. And it's just more laid back. And it's just more, I love the culture. The culture is crazy awesome. It's a safe culture where you can grow. It's homegrown. There's very, very, very few people have had success. If you look at like the top 100 money earners, I bet you 90 of them have never even done network marketing before It Works. Yeah. So it's an anomaly. I call it an anomaly because you just don't see another company like this. I mean, when we came in, they said debt-free is the new sexy. I'm like, oh, what? What do you mean? What does that mean? But now I love it and I believe it. And it's just, they've got what they stand for is strong. And, they give us a platform we can share our faith, which I love that too. And it's an amazing company.
Yeah. You know what, you mentioned something before about conference, and what Brandy and I noticed the first conference we went to is the youth of the nation has showed up here. Like, I actually felt a little bit old. I'm in your age group. And I remember looking around the arena and I told Brandy, I'm like, I feel like I'm really old, but it was a good feeling because the company, the law of attraction with this company, faith-based, $1 billion company, debt-free, the culture, as you mentioned, I've never, in my experience in the industry, I've never seen a better set of people, human beings at the top. Like, so their egos are on the side. They're so laser focused on their personal growth. I mean, it's the first time I've never had to ask people about journaling, or they're just diehard into the personal growth. But that to me was important because that all rises and falls on the leadership. And so when you look at Mark and Cindy, they definitely paved the way. And another thing I want to lead into a conversation with you, I know, like, when you guys started, it was really just the wrap. So when you guys started, you were, I don't want to say handicapped, but when I look at when Brandy and I started, I mean, we had more product choices than you guys had. But that wrap that I used to make fun of, that's a powerful product. But now today, 2019, Chad, we launched over 30 new products, and we just launched, I think, the best coffee in the world, because I'm a coffee guy, number one, but Skinny Brew. What's your take on the timing of the product selection right now? What's happening in 2020, regardless of the pandemic? I know that's a whole nother topic, but this company has not seen any decline in sales. I mean, this company's growing even more because they're so home-based, but that's another story. But what's your take on the new product and the timing of everything happening now versus when you started?
Well, that's a great question. And yeah, when I started, it was the wrap, the wrap. And I don't know exactly, but the wrap was probably half the sales, I would say. I mean, they had other products, but it was lead with the wrap. All the branding was the wrap. And as a man, it made it a little difficult to work around that, because I'm just, I remember I was on a call one time and the person leading the call was like, "Aren't you all just so happy to be a tummy wrapper?" And I'm just like, man. And I was like, I need to kind of rebrand this, you know, because I have a lot of guys and stuff that I wanted to bring in and wanted to work with. And I was like, so another buddy of mine kind of invented, I remember he kind of coined the phrase, she raps and I yap. And that was kind of what Jaree and I started doing. She would do all the rapping. Although there was that guy at the mall, the AT&T guy, and he's like, "I want one." I'm like, "Lift up your shirt." He said, "Not here, man. Can we do it in the bathroom?" And I'm like, "Okay, I guess I'm doing this one. Jaree's not doing this one." So I fall in the bathroom. We wait for everybody, you know, to kind of leave, and I start rapping him, and like 6 people walk in. We're just like, "Hey." So it's a little awkward.
Social media, that'd have been great on social media, Chad.
Oh, that would have been, wouldn't it? So, you know, another time a buddy of mine and another officer friend comes over and Jaree's supposed to be rapping him. And then she gets one of those 911 calls from a friend, you know, and her friend's crying on the phone. She's like, "Honey, you're going to have to do this." I'm like, "All right, buddy, lift up your shirt, man." And then this guy, what was crazy though, is he already had the 6-pack. He was just getting ready to get married and he wanted, I guess, a 7 or an 8-pack. I was like, "What are you doing this for?" He's like, "Come on, man, I need to tighten the tone and firm a little bit too." So, you know, that's kind of where we started. And as the company's grown, I just think of it as health and wellness. I mean, health and wellness is a $1 trillion industry. And I just think more and more people are wanting to get self-educated on their health. I mean, how many times in our lifetime, Mike, have they said, "Eat more of that, it's good for you"? And then 5 years later they go, "Oh, changed our mind. You know, don't eat that anymore. That's bad for you now." And then as we get older, we see more and more people becoming diabetic, more and more people. And what have we been doing? We've just been trusting our doctors. You know, doctor says, take 2 of these, take 4 of these. My mom's on like 9 different types of medication. And I think people are just starting to question the professional doctors and say, can we do something a different way, right?
Exactly,
can we do things nutraceutically instead of pharmaceutically? And so the interest is there. And then the simplicity of our products. And again, being innovative, I mean, who knew that celery would become such a huge thing, you know, where people all of a sudden overnight, they want to juice celery, and one guy writes a book and it goes like crazy and viral and everybody wants it. Or elderberry, there's a girl in our city and she just started making this concoction for her kids and then their friends. And now she's got her elderberry concoction in like 70 some stores all around Middle Tennessee, because people want to take things that are natural and that are going to be good for them. I mean, when we first started, I love the greens, and I would literally just take the greens, you know, and we had orange at the time. We have the berry and the chocolate now, but I would just dump 2 scoops of this orange in a bottle of water, shake it up, and it looked like, you know, I got it out of a swamp somewhere, right? And I just drank it around the Army, and all the guys are like, "What is that?" And I'm like, "Man, this is my energy drink, only it's half as expensive as that Red Bull you're drinking, and it's twice as healthy." And they would go, "Really? Tell me more, tell me more." And we signed up, I don't even know how many people on greens, because it's like juicing without the challenge of juicing, right? You're able just a couple scoops. It's so simple. I mean, you're probably like me, Mike. You wake up in the morning and you mix a couple things together and drink that. In the afternoon, you mix a couple more and drink that. And in the evening, mix a couple more. I like to do 2 at a time just to make it. I tried 4 or 5 and put it all together, but it just gets a little crazy if you do that. So, but I love the need is huge, and it's just going to become greater and greater, you know, as we go along. So, we're seeing that right now. I mean, right now with these pick 2s and these pick 3s, people are just, the stuff's flying off the shelves. Like, I'm like, man, I hope they keep the inventory rolling in, because I could just see one day they're like, "Man, we sold out everything."
it feels like an Amazon on steroids lately, you know, and that's what I've been telling a lot of people, because the company does a great job. And if you're new or you're a guest, you're on the live or maybe watching a recording at some point, you know, keep in mind the person that invited you here today, first of all, thank them. But we've got a lot of great promotions going on right now just to become a customer. So if you're interested in just trying some product out, you can get with the person that invited you on here today and do just that, and have some great stories. And maybe if you're lucky enough, you can wrap some guys in the bathroom in the mall like Chad did and change your financial future, right? But now let's talk a little bit about opportunity. I love this because, Chad, you and your family, and it's, you know, I think tough for some people when they see somebody successful, you know, they sometimes don't realize the entire story. They don't realize all the struggle. It doesn't happen overnight. Where you and Jaree are today with your family, and, you know, having paid off your debts and earning the type of income you guys are. Very humble, by the way. in how you present, and I respect that and appreciate that. But let's talk about residual income. I always teach people, I've been talking about this for many years. We can make linear income. We can trade time and hours and get paid. Most people have a job like the military. I've done that too. Or you can build residual income. As our mutual mentor, Jim Rohn, taught, build your side fortune, part-time fortune. Today we call it a side hustle, right? It's like the, little sexy side hustle people have today. And that's I love it because that gets people's attention, but it's serious business to build residual income that compounds over time. First of all, Chad, give us a taste of your lifestyle. After all this hard work, and the reality is you don't have to be working right now. I know that for a fact. I know you won't share that with everybody, but talk about your lifestyle, what it's done after these years of building residual income, and how life has been for you guys today.
Man, it's changed everything. And the seed for me was planted many years ago. I think it was Jim Rohn was doing a conference in California, and he always trains on a lot of incredible things, but I've only heard him one time pause and say, memorize this, and then go back and say, let's say it together. Let's do it. Let's say it together. So I took the time and did it. And I said that over and over and over and over, and it planted. And basically what he said that day was, through testimonials and personal experience, we have enough information to conclude that it's possible to design and live an extraordinary life. And so once I understood it was possible to design and live an extraordinary life, I had to start thinking about what would that even mean? Because it's different, right? It's different. An extraordinary life, designing and living an extraordinary life could be different from all of us that are on here right now listening. So we had to figure out what that meant. And part of it for us was debt-free. So that first conference, I think we were sitting there, maybe it was the second one, and we knew we had X amount of student loans. I think it was $30-some thousand, and we decided we're going to pay all this off by the end of the year. And we actually paid it all off by June. And on my 40th birthday, so we're in the Nashville area, Dave Ramsey's home studio, it's kind of down the road from us, about 45 minutes. So my 40th birthday, we scheduled it. We went in there to the studio, and we got to be on the Dave Ramsey show and do the debt-free scream. My kids are running around. They probably have no clue what's going on. All they remember is we were yelling, right? But on my 40th birthday, other than our house, we were debt-free. So that was part of what we wanted to do. We wanted to not have, that hanging over our head. And we've been able to do so much. I mean, I'll give you just a couple examples. Some friends of ours got married, and they'd been married previously, and the husband had a vasectomy, and so couldn't have children anymore. And they had sorry about that, something clicked up. And basically they had went to the cheapest route they could, and they botched the job. And so it was even worse. And they're like, it's probably not going to work out. And they found out that they could go to this person, and it was going to be a lot, it was going to be expensive. It was going to be around $30,000, and they just didn't have it. And we said, you know what? We want to sow into you guys. We're going to give you the money. We're going to pay for it all. And wouldn't you know that a few years later, they got a little 2-year-old girl running around now. And so to be part of that, man, was huge. Or my mom's limping around and working at Walmart. And I'm like, Mom, get your knee surgery. And she said, well, the insurance won't cover 10,000 of it. I'm like, just do it. And just don't even open the bills. Just send us the bills. Send us the bills. We want to do the bills. So that, or when things come up, Mike, and it's like, just help that person, give that person. Now, we did make some stupid decisions with that early money. Like, I found out one year we spent $50,000 just on sushi at one restaurant, which I don't recommend. I don't recommend doing that. So we kind of blew it a little bit,
I love it. We're
still growing. We're still learning, but it's just the options. It's options and possibilities that are there, and money, it just makes you more of what you already are. So if you're a good person, you're going to use it to do great things. If you're a nasty person, you can use money to do all kinds of nasty things too. So it's very neutral, and it's always, I've lived where I didn't have any. Like when I first met my wife, we lived in her grandma's spare room for $500 a month. And we had about a $1,500 a month budget, and that was pushing it. Right. Yeah. And so it's much different now. And it's great.
It's giving. Yeah. I mean, I love hearing that, because it's just, the fact that you can just give back and help people. And I often share, I've helped 2 people in my lifetime so far buy a house, and it's by far been 2 of the greatest feelings I've ever had. So I tell a lot of people, I say, you know what, it doesn't have to be like a full-time business here. It doesn't even have to be, part-time. It can be in your spare time. But I just say, Chad, to a lot of people, just do something, even before this crisis that we're in right now, where the whole world's been shut down. We've got, this fear of this virus and what's happening around the world. people are now quarantined all over the world. But prior to that, you know, guys like you and I, we have been talking for years about the dangers of getting right-sized, you know, downsized, losing your severance or whatever it might be. And this has happened many, many times. Now, I think most people, this is a big wake-up call. So what are your thoughts on, you know, first of all, people that are in this position today and they have fears, right? They get a little bit like, I want to do something, but they have a challenge taking that leap of faith, right? Or the fear of what their friends or family might think, or the fear of failure, or the fear of just, you know, can I even do this? And I know you've gone through this many times, and that's why you are where you are today. So what are your words of advice for people that maybe fear is holding them back from their destiny? What are your thoughts and your advice, mentoring for them?
Man, that is so good. You know, and I can relate. When I grew up, my dad, I never even heard this term till it happened, but he was de-layered. Like, guy gave his heart and soul to this car factory and after on his 11-year anniversary, de-layered. So
Wow.
The first thing I would say is that, you know, the script that we live under now, and you know, I could spend some time on this, but the script is, you know, go to school and get good grades, get good grades so you can get good grades in high school so you can attend a good. I mean, there's this script, and we all know what we're supposed to do. It's kind of the pressure that is constant, you know, that we're supposed to get good grades, and we're supposed to go to college, and we're supposed to get a good house. We're supposed to have 2.5 kids by age 30, you know, and be married and have a house and all that kind of stuff. And the challenge is that the script shifted, because now average person's going to have a career change 7 times in their life. And so what we have here, again, represents an option. And, you know, Mike, you talked about residual income earlier. Every single person pays residual bills. And once you understand what residual income is, you want it. And so once you understand what it is, you just have to find a way to have it. I mean,
Yeah.
You know, when you can sit someone down and show them how they can work part-time, they can keep working full-time on their job and change nothing, right? Just keep doing what you've been doing forever. But now you can start working part-time on a fortune. And you can actually get to the place where you can make twice as much, 3 times as much, 5 times as much working part-time as you were working full-time. Then you have more options. Now, I didn't leave the Army. I didn't stop being an officer until we were making 4 times the amount, and it works, that I was being an officer. That's when we walked away. And what it really boils down to is you just have to, I think first, Mike, people just have to look in the mirror and they have to say, I am where I am because of choices I've made, right? We have to stop playing the blame game. I mean, it's very rare people take responsibility. It's very common that people place blame. And so when we get to that point where we say, you know what, if I want things to change, I have to change. And that's a massive, massive moment, because when we realize that, we take the power back. Because if we're sitting around waiting for them to change, or that to change, or our employer to pay more, or other things, a job over here to open up or whatever, then our whole life is just waiting for stuff out there. We're basically saying we're not in control of anything at all. And we realize that we are in control of some things, that we're in control of our mind. We're in control of, if we spend our time goal achieving or tension relieving, right? And that's the routine a lot of us fall into, is we don't like our life. So as often as we can, we try and escape from our life, only to go back to our life. That's the biggest reason why Mondays there's more heart attacks than any other day of the week. And that just goes to show you that I think the statistics are like 70% or something like that. People don't like their job.
Yeah.
But how many of them are actually willing to do something else so that they can get out of that? See, it takes an action plan. And that's Mike, is why it's so important to get around people like you, you know, and just be humble enough, you know, have enough humility to get around people and say, hey man, I need your help. Like, will you show me will you help me come up with a game plan to how I can transition from my life now into something different and something better? Yeah. And of course there's going to be skeptics along the way. Of course there's going to be people, everybody has an opinion about everything, but I'll tell you what, when you buy into someone's opinion, you're buying in their lifestyle. So you have to be very careful whose opinion you actually listen to.
That's big. That's huge. That was some awesome advice. And, you know, I don't want to forget about your book today. So you got to share a little bit about your book, because I know you're not going to start talking about it, but I'm going to bring it up. No, do you have a copy of it there you could show us?
Yeah.
I love the title. I remember when you first shared this online, and I was probably traveling. Yeah, Finding Happy. So guys, check this out. And, you know, Brandy and I read books like crazy. I mean, I've always had a good library. Now it's Audible, which is kind of cool. and you can kind of on the fly when you're traveling or whatever it is. And so, but yeah, tell us about the book. First of all, the reason I like the title, Chad, is because a lot of people, they live in a very negative environment, and like you said, they're kind of stuck in that rut. They're stuck in sand. They're like a ping pong ball in the wind tunnel. They're just, they're all over the place, and they just can't get out of that vortex in life. And so when I see the title of your book, and I know your story, so I'm advantage, but when I think of people, they just need the vehicle to find some happiness. Forget the money for a second. They join a culture like this and be around people like you and your wife and the other leaders here. I mean, that's part of it. But tell us about what this book is about, what it will do for people, because I'm a big fan. I tell people all day long, you should be reading at least 1 or 2 new books a month, minimum. That's with no excuses involved. 1 or 2 books a month, and if you're lazy, get Audible. That's what I say.
Man, well, I wanted to give people hope, and I remember, I haven't shared this yet, but depression and suicide runs rampantly through my family. I had my great grandfather committed suicide, grandfather. I had a 15-year-old brother that committed suicide. And
Wow.
So depression, I remember how it felt to just be so depressed. I didn't want to get out of bed. And I remember thinking that was it, that I was done, and I wasn't even 30 yet. And so I can relate so much. And I just know that if I can help someone understand that if they just keep swimming, they just keep getting out of bed, they just keep doing something, that there's better ahead. And you never know what it's going to be. You never know it's going to be tomorrow or a month from now or a year from now, but I just believe that there's always hope and there's always better. And so I wanted to kind of capture that in this book and just kind of, I feel like anybody can come to this. I've had some people that were like one guy I think of, he was separated from his wife, and, she wasn't allowing him to see his kids, and he was just down, and he was done. He was just done. I was like, dude, just read this book, man. Just read this book. It'll give you a game plan. It'll help you out. He read it, and he said it changed his life. And now he's back with his wife, and, family units back together. And so that's a wonderful testimony. But I go through 10 keys in here that you probably haven't really heard before, that I think are helpful. And they just help us to position ourselves to be happy. The reality is 2 out of 3 people aren't happy, but everyone wants to be happy. Right. And that's why I wanted to title it this, because I've never met anybody that said, no, if it was called Finding Miserable, I'd read it, but I don't want to be happy. I want to be miserable. And it's like so confusing, because so many people are miserable and they're not doing anything to not be miserable, but they don't want to be miserable. And so this is just a book that's really helpful. I just put one in the mail today to a guy that's in prison right now. And I'm just like, man, I love this. It's a seed, it's just a seed that I get to plant. And it's kind of a book. When I told you about the 90s, and I wish someone would have given me a book like this. It probably would have helped me to get my head out of my butt a lot sooner than needing to have my wife help me get my head out of my butt. Right. So, I wrote it for anybody that just wants to have some hope, anybody that's entrepreneurial, anybody that's wanting their life just to be a little bit better than it is right now. And there's a good game plan in there. And I think it's really helping people.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, I always like to talk about the best thing is being like a drug dealer, but we deal hope. That's what we do. We're hope dealers, because the world's missing it. We turn on the news and it's like, oh my gosh, you turn around and most people are so negative, or, your uncle's broke, but he's telling you that this is a scam. And we are surrounded by the wrong information most of the time. So when people do pick up those books, like what you're sharing, or a life that's changed because somebody heard your story today. And I guarantee there's some lives changing, Chad, from your story today, because it was awesome. And I was excited to share this with everybody. If you're a guest, okay, this has got to be some gasoline on the fuel of your fire for your dreams, hearing Chad's story today and what him and his lovely wife have done in many, many years. But I want everyone to think about today, the person that invited you on this call, or if you're watching a replay or whatever it might be, get back with them and thank them. Always thank the person that offers opportunity to you, because you never know, at what point in your life when that opportunity is going to be the one that's going to be the game changer for you and your family. And then make a decision. I always tell people, Chad, as our mentor Jim Rohn said, if we can't be passive. Indecision is the thief of all of our opportunities, whether it's health or wealth. And so make a decision today. You heard it from Chad today. Make a decision to become a customer. Make it a decision to join the business. Do something. Just do something. And the last thing I'll tell everybody is buy Chad's book, because I think if you're not reading books, you need a new book. You know, you heard a little bit of a story today, but really deep dive with Chad in that book. That would be awesome. So, Chad, I can't thank you enough, man. Today was awesome. I'd love to keep going, but I try to keep these around 30, 40 minutes because, you know, the attention span of most people is only like 5 minutes these days. So, you know how that goes. Any last comments for everybody on the?
Yeah, I just want to say, if you're here and you're in the middle of it right now, just keep going. You know, enjoy the journey. I think someday when we get to the end, we'll look back and we'll go, man, it wasn't about hitting the goal of this or the goal of this or the finish line of this. It was about the journey. You know, it was about the pushing through. It was about the stretching. You know, and it's about the you know, Mike, you're in the military. It's you know, you're in the field, you're in the suck together, and you get out of the suck and you're like, yeah, I get to take a shower, but you're like, those are the things you never forget, is being in the middle of the struggle. And as long as we're struggling and we're going through a struggle, then good things are happening. So just embrace it. Embrace it. Dennis Waitley, I'll leave you with this. Dennis Waitley said, failure is the fertilizer of success. So you have to go through it. You have to. If there's no shortcut, there's no easy way. You just got to take it head on and just keep on moving right through it. And people like Mike won't steer you wrong. You know, if you're on here and whoever you have as an upline, you can always go to your Organizational Explorer report and scroll down, and there's some names there. All those people really want to help you succeed. So it's a great company to be with. It's a safe place, and it's a great place to grow. And people like Mike will be doing these types of things, helping everybody be able to grow.
Hey, thank you very much. You guys in the family have an awesome weekend, Chad. We really appreciate it. Everybody else out there, make sure you share this, tag your teams, invite your prospects, and we'll get a YouTube link out to everybody. Thanks, Chad. You guys have an awesome day, everyone.
You too. God bless.